Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Care & Co podcast. I'm your host, Jean-Marie, Head of Marketing and Talent Acquisition at Mega Nursing Care. Today I'm joined by two remarkable brothers who aren't just family, but the driving force behind Mega Nursing Care. King, Winner Lawal, who have transformed their mother Margaret's vision into a thriving social care enterprise spanning multiple counties. These brothers have been instrumental in the company's growth, with Winner joining in 2012 while studying biometric sciences, and King brings his financial expertise in 2015. Together, they've expanded the business across Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire and beyond, delivering exceptional care to communities throughout the region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome King and Winner Lawal. How are you doing?
Very good.
Excellent. Good. I'm thrilled to have you here on our second episode of the Care & Co podcast. Now, for our viewers who may or may not know you, could you maybe give us a brief introduction of yourself? How did you get into this business, and maybe a little bit about your background and hobbies as well? Winner?
Okay, so yes, as Jean has said, I'm Winner Lawal, Chief Operating Officer at Mega Nursing and Care. I joined the business at the very offset with Margaret, our mother, who started it as a vision from when she was working in a care home as the nurse, went to be the head nurse in the care home. What she realized while working there was that the outcomes of the service users there would be better off and would be preferable if they were at home, which led her to want to start and then follow on to start in 2011, Mega Nursing and Care. Started off initially trying to get into the industry. We started off with cleaning till we got our registration and kick-started our domiciliary care services properly in April of 2012. I have been there from the very off, started delivering leaflets, was there handling the accounts and payroll and systems and assisting as much as I can while I was at uni. When I came back after the 3 years, I had 2 weeks of a little bit of respite from uni and was thrown straight into the lion's den, which is healthcare in this country. And since then, we had King, my brother, joined a year after I came back from university. And from then, yes, we've expanded near, far and wide, and it's basically part of me now. It's like my little child. I have no children yet, so it's something I hold very close to heart.
I think it's my turn now. So, Jean, just on your opener, you flatter us. Thank you for that, wonderful commendation. So, I joined in 2015, and I started off the Bedford blog. The Bedford branch was started off, but I was placed there to expand it and to grow it, and I think that's what I did. Things were different at the time. Of course, now we're a much bigger company. Well, still a small, medium enterprise, but a much bigger company, many more employees. I would say what my main purpose has been since I've joined since 2015 is growth. I've been growing the company, and that looks like different contracts around COVID. It was quite. We found a wonderful opportunity to expand, and we had the infrastructure there to do this thing called rapid response, discharge to assess, get people out of hospital as fast as possible into their own homes and care for them there, re-enabling them back to their baseline capabilities. And that's what the last, 4 years has been of the company. In terms of background, John, I've got a political background as well. You mentioned my finance and accountancy background, but I'm also a unitary councillor in one of the councils in Northamptonshire, and that involves supporting constituencies. And part of that as well, my constituency that involves, part of that as well means I'm a health scrutiny chairman which means I chair the health portfolio of this council, and get to talk to people like within the integrated care board and things like that. But ultimately, in terms of this company, Winner's mentioned about our mother Margaret, she pioneered this. We've joined and we've grown it, and that's the bit of background.
Fantastic. Now, King, I must ask you.
Mm.
Seems to be that you're involved into quite a lot of things. You're a counsellor. You scrutinize, and also you essentially run Megacare. How do you do it?
By the grace of God. That's it's a lot of stuff. Of course, I've got a young family as well. You mentioned the council, you mentioned the business. I'm also involved in church, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. And I guess my advice would be get a morning routine. The morning sets you off. I mean, I know Winner's got a fantastic morning routine with his exercise. I'm similar. Get up in the morning, get to the gym, get the blood pumping, and it starts to enable your mind to start working, and you've got the physical element done as well, and then you can tackle the day. I also spend some time praying and reading my Bible as well. That's a spiritual waking in the morning, and then crack on. The day starts, and there's a lot to do, and my day can start from as I say, I wake up around 7 a.m, sometimes 6 a.m, and then business is from those crucial hours from 8 until sort of 5, and then I may have council obligations later on until 10, 11 p.m, whether that's a scrutiny meeting or that's a full council. So it can be tough, but get the morning routine. That's
wonderful advice. Thank you. Must be quite tough, but you seem like a very committed individual. And Winner, you mentioned that you began your role at Megacare fresh out of uni. How was that experience for you?
I mean, it was tough. When I came in, we had 2 other managers that were assisting our mother in running the service. A lot of things happened with those managers. There was a lot of jealousy, a lot of inner workings that were very negatively impacting the company. So by the time I came in after uni, I didn't have any form of professional background, didn't have any corporate background, and generally, most of the work I had done consisted in bar work, but I had done biomedical science, and I had been involved in the company since the very beginning, so I understood the overall workings of the company. When I got there, my job role was to grow our new spot contract with Northamptonshire CCG. At the time, we had somewhere around, I think, 150 hours. Within 4 months after I came back, we had grown up to 600 hours. It was very tough, but for me, learning is part of my passion. I would say my overall passion is people. Goal when I was young, over from 5 years old, was to become a doctor. That was positively side-railed from Megacare, that we are now running. So instead of going to do my post-medicine, I went to do my master's in business, which also helped greatly in the running of medicine and care. But generally, coming out of uni at 21, healthcare, especially a decade ago, was very much, I would say, an older person's game. Coming in at 21, you're put in a position of responsibility and of authority. And to be able to garner respect, you have to ensure that you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. So I flooded myself with knowledge. And through knowledge, I garnered respect. And from that point onwards, we have been fairly successful in that.
And Winner said his overall goal was to be a doctor. My overall goal when I was young was to be a NBA basketball star. Never worked out. Here we are today. And just to pick up on one of Winner's points, he mentioned about those managers that were trying to destroy it. I think we can call it out for where it was. They were funneling money from the business into their own accounts through divisive methods. And I think that's just, we're not going to mention them, we're not going to mention their names, we might receive an indictment, but that's what they were doing. So tough times, challenging times, but we're here today.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Well, one thing I want to know now, Winner, you're the younger brother. And when Kim came about in 2015, how was it for the both of you to work together? Was there any clashes, or were you all on the same page, or what was it like?
I was severely underpaid. I'll start with you. He can.
He was. We all have to start from somewhere. I believe,
Absolutely.
to be honest, we've always had a good relationship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very tough for there to be any clashes that we can't discuss. We both see sense. We both see compromise. So as we are both there for the success of the company, we could always talk through things and ultimately see the best avenue and route to go. And I feel like that's where most contention comes from.
Yeah.
Just the inability to change your position because you want to mandate it, because you think you're losing maybe if your position gets changed based on someone else's perspective. But generally, if overall you come together and you discuss and you agree that, okay, this trajectory for the business is the best way, and then there's no point to argue. I do also think it did help that we were counties apart, and he was operating and running Bedfordshire and I was operating and running Northamptonshire. And within that, because yes, they're in different counties, but we're doing the same thing, we can also go through it and see what each of us are doing and then incorporate those techniques in the branches to a point where now we have merged all those techniques and that now becomes our company culture and our mode of conduct. And overall, all of the branches benefit.
I think there was
on that.
So there was a lot of ownership and accountability at the start, which is obviously fantastic. And one of the things that I hear a lot from people that families don't work well together. Brothers, gosh, you can't have brothers working together. You're always going to be fighting. And we've had this in many networking lunches and things we've gone to that they've raised this, how does it work with you guys being brothers and working together? But it works. It works. I guess Winner is my best friend and but also business partner, so it works. And just to mention, I took as a commercial finance analyst, took a significant pay cut coming to the company, and I remember my mum petitioning me to come back so I could run the Bedfordshire branch and grow it, because when it was focused on Northamptonshire, and that was a difficult decision at the time, but looking back now, it's the best decision that I could have made. So, yeah.
Excellent. Now, usually would ask this towards the end of an interview, but as you mentioned, in family business, there can be clashes, that sort of thing. What would be the number one advice to give to perhaps two people like yourself or starting out, two brothers?
I'll go in and commence. I would say generally the most important thing is to listen to understand, not to listen to respond. I feel most people fail in that part, and that's the one thing that then you won't be able to really hear what someone is trying to say. We're brothers. This is a family business in the truest sense of family business, started by a mother. A younger brother has now joined within the company as well. We all want the best for each other. We don't want more than each other. We don't want anyone to be more successful than one another. We want the best for each other. So if there is a suggestion out there, if there is some contention or disagreement in operations practices or future outlook, then you need to listen to understand why they're saying that, because they're not saying that to be of a detriment. They're not saying that to negatively impact you or the family. There's a positive base in there. And even if it's incorrect, it's only if you understand their position would you be able to advise a better or alternative position. And I think if you maintain that consistently, there'll be very difficult points where you'll be able to reach an avenue of contention that can't be directed through.
That was beautifully said. Thank you.
So, I mean, I would say, sum up Winner's parts: communication, compromise, and Yeah, I'll say those two things, two C's: communication and compromise. You have to be able to understand, and that goes to the understanding part that when I was talking about, understand what each other are saying, but also communicate. So you're both, on the same page with what's going on. People are, family members can obviously clash about different things, but it's you can't beat good communication.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Now, getting to the burning topics that we've been waiting to discuss, I'm sure we've got some viewers that's wanting to hear your views on these topics. Nationalisation of social care. Today, we're diving into an important topic that affects many people in the UK, the nationalisation of social care. With recent discussions about transforming how social care is provided, we want to explore what this means for vulnerable individuals and the system as a whole. King, what are your thoughts on the idea of nationalising social care in the UK?
Well, my first thought is completely bonkers. The white paper, the it's been led by, I can't remember her name now, but overall by Unison. So Unison has this. Of course, they're they're very much a Labour arm. They fund Labour. I've heard recently they've got Wes Streeting, the health secretary, on board. But ultimately, what she's trying to do, she's raising this idea of nationalisation of the care service, which is modelled on the NHS, National Health Service. The two cannot be the same. In order to nationalise the care service, there's going to be significant losses to the taxpayer, and I'll tell you why. Taxes are going to have to go up significantly, or borrowing will have to go up, which is going to hit the taxpayer in a very, very big way. So there's a reason why they've been kicking the can down the road. I think this was raised maybe 2-3 years ago. But what successive governments have been trying to do is fund social care, is put pour money into social care, and I know Boris was attempting this as well, Boris Johnson, when he was in Prime Minister. But it's always very, very difficult because it involves a lot of money. So now, if we have a national care service, which is all publicly, hiring public care workers, what that will mean is going to be it's all going to come from the exchequer. And now, without privatization, without private companies, it's going to be a huge financial burden for the government and for the taxpayer. But ultimately, I think it's a ridiculous notion. I don't think it's going to come into fruition anytime soon. But they are trying, and this is what these people, Unison and trade unions, try to do. And the Labour left, they try and bring forward these very strange ideologies that probably will never come to fruition.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people might share the same views as you. Some might disagree. Some might even say that it would improve access and quality of care for vulnerable individuals. Winner, what are your views on that?
I believe on that specifically, I don't think I see any way it can improve the quality of care. When you go out into the market, when you go out into the market to seek for services, you can mandate quality, you can mandate a level of service. And if those companies are not delivering the level of service, then you can find another one. You have competition in the market that stimulates growth, which is what you want from a care service. You want to be able to go out in the market, find the people with the best quality, with the best specialisms, with the best managers, the best operations, and the best model of care, and put those people at the forefront of what is one of the most important services this country is running. With quality comes accountability. When you nationalize a service, who are you holding accountable? If there is one system and one company governing the whole service, you can't hold anyone accountable. And that is some of the issues we are currently seeing within the NHS, whereby no one can be put to task, no one can be held responsible for actions or mistakes, and it always comes under the service as a whole, and the NHS gets put under the same umbrella for certain departments, certain areas, maybe certain trusts that are failing worse than the others. And the same thing will happen if you nationalize the care services.
Yeah.
There will be a lack of accountability, and there will be no way to mandate high level of quality.
Yeah, it's such a socialist ideology. To be fair, if you look at what they're saying, right, that it's better off having a national care service because all private companies want to do is make a profit for their shareholders. Some of their arguments are, all private companies do is, they provide a care service for profit for their shareholders. So they think we're sort of very shareholder centric, and we don't reinvest into the company for high quality. That's some of the Unison's arguments, and they think a national care service would be better because then all the money will be reinvested into the company, into the service for higher quality. I think that's a complete farce, because most providers that I know, and including ourselves, we spend a lot of money on things like technology to improve our care provision, on staff, to ensure that their work life is and work pay is more than sufficient. We've never been paying minimum wage, so there's a lot of things that we do to improve care, our staff's lives. But also, just on another point that you mentioned before, free at the point of need, right? That's what the NHS is, right? That's your healthcare service, free at the point of need, and that's what they want for the National Care Service as well. And if that's the case, that means everyone that have the money to pay for their care service, and that sort of variety of different kinds of care that they may need, all of this will now fall to the taxpayer to pay, because people that can pay won't be paying. The government will be paying, the exchequer will be paying, and that's a huge financial burden for the country. And I just don't think it will, I don't think it cuts it, nor do I think it will actually roll through anytime soon. I think they'll kick the can down the road. It's far too expensive.
Yeah, I don't think they have the money for it at all. I think care companies are currently already living on the breadline. Most of our charge rates are mandated from the councils themselves, and we don't get an extra pot of money if our services become more costly to run. We have to fork out the money. That will be the taxpayer in the National Care Service. They won't be able to say, no, we're out of funding. They won't be able to say, no, we can't increase the rate. They'll just have to fund it at whatever level that there is a need for. And I don't think that is sustainable, especially in the current climate.
And all this money that private companies are pushing into more advanced technologies and different things, right, to really provide that competition and be first movers. That won't happen. Well, that may happen under a National Care Service, but that will be the government pumping all that money in. Again, they don't have an unlimited resource. We already spend billions and billions on a National Healthcare Service, National Care Health Service. The money isn't there, particularly when we're on deficit now and interest rates have gone up in the government significantly. I think the last numbers I heard is gone up by 12 billion. This is what they're paying because of their deficit. This is the money they're paying out to lenders from what they've loaned, from what the loans they've taken to run the country. So the money just isn't there. They're going to have to increase tax or increase borrowing, which is just no good for anyone.
Yeah. Now, if nationalisation is not the answer, what alternative reforms would you propose to ensure equitable and sustainable social care? Winner.
Well, I would say some of the few things they can do is be a lot more intentional with the companies that they are bringing in to run these care services. I do like the tender process in general. However, even though it is fair on the base of it, it is still very much who has the most money at the time and who can pay a company to run the tenders and to display their best factors and display their outcomes as well as possible are the ones who will be there and the forefront. And that's not always the companies that have the most compassion or has the most empathy or
even
actually
expertise.
cares or expertise. We are a family-run business, and our cornerstone was my mother. We told the story early on that she just was working in a care home, and she saw that people would be better being cared for at home. That is a personal story that fills us with passion, and that's why we want to care for people. These are the companies that the government should be wanting to put to the forefront of their social care service. There are now a lot of players with the way the tender system is running. They come in from America, from afar and abroad, and have not lived within our system, don't truly know our issues, and don't truly want to make an impact to the people that are living here. Those companies are buying out loads of companies, and they're not delivering with care and compassion. I would think a limitation on external providers and on external companies coming in to take these services from the people within the country that truly do care about their environment. I think that will be the one initial good move that they could do to assist in health and social care.
Yeah, well, it raises a good point, because there's a lot of American-owned care services, and they obviously have a lot of money, big conglomerates, and they kind of take over. I mean, Home Instead is one of them. They have American money, so but I'm not going to speak against them. They're a good company, but those are some of the things. Keeping it UK based could be one, with the Trump's America First slogan. We could be UK first, but in more practical things, I think we do need a much fairer tendering process as well, because sometimes you kind of get the feeling that some of the companies has been chosen. I'm not bashing the councils, but they don't necessarily the way that they select the care providers for the services aren't necessarily completely above board, and that's just been our experience. How else would we do it? Those are just a few ideas. It's an interesting discussion, debate how we can improve the social care, make it more equitable.
I also feel there needs to be there is a smooth route to market if you do want to become a care provider. However, the CQC, with all their positives, has a lot of drawbacks, and one of them is that they are just understaffed. They don't have the staff structure or the money to be evaluating and inspecting these care providers as readily as they should be, as quickly and as efficiently as there should be. And I feel like if they were, then the standard of care in general would steadily rise within the UK.
I don't think, ultimately the answer is not a national care service. And plus, if you look at the independence thing, it takes away people's independence. If they pay for their own care, they can have the care the way they want. Sort of, you haven't enforced, this is how it's done. That takes away independence, and that can actually reduce outcomes.
Excellent. That's interesting. Now, on another topic, a recent change that's perhaps impacted all or most sectors of the economy, the NI increase. The Labour government's 2024 autumn budget introduced a significant increase in employer national insurance contributions, set to take effect in April 2025. This change is expected to have far-reaching consequences for various sectors, particularly social care. How will the 1.2% increase in employer national insurance contributions affect the financial stability of social care providers, King?
Well, I don't think it's the 1.2% increase that's going to be affecting much at all. I think it's the, 5,001 to...
It's a drop from 9,001
9,001 to
5,000.
to 5,000.
Yeah.
That allowance that we get per employee, that's going to be the biggest, the biggest drive down, the biggest issue that we have with the national insurance increase. Of course, coupled with the 1.2% increase and with the minimum wage increase as well, all in one, provides a very, devastating future for a lot of care providers. I mean, including ourselves. I think I mentioned it in the last podcast where we've sort of equated around £250,000 that we're going to have to absorb on top of what we're already paying, which is incredible sums. And this could be a care provider's whole reserves, and some people may not even have that as a reserve. So we're anticipating a lot of closures, a lot of companies closing down, and I'm hearing these things already in the ether, that people are set to see what happens before they make their decisions about closing down. We've got groups like the Care Provider Alliance and a few other alliances and petitions really lobbying the government to change their decision. And whether some of the things they're calling for is that how about they just they don't do this national insurance increase for, care providers, for social care, for charities, and for hospices, because all this is going to hit them as well. Hospices that are looking after people that are dying are going to be affected by this increase. Unpaid carers associations, that they have minimal funding to support unpaid carers that are not getting any funding or very minimal. They're going to be hit by this as well. I think it was Chris Denning in the last podcast that said he's going to have to absorb 30,000. Equivalent to us, that's a big deal for him. Care providers that just cannot, smaller care providers that cannot deal with this increase in national insurance. So it's a tax on jobs, because the care providers have to put it back on their staff, or on take away things like bonuses, which is going to affect staff. So it's a terrible decision by Labour.
Absolutely. And Winner, how do you think this is going to affect the quality of care?
Honestly, I feel, as I said in the previous question, care providers are currently already living on a breadline. To be able to think that just out of the blink of an eye, you'll be able to find an extra, which equates to the 1.2% and the drop in allowance, circa £700 per employee per year as the base increase of what we have to do. So that is putting it under the assumption that there was £250,000 last year just sitting around that had that wasn't spoken for, which is not the case. So we are a people service. There's companies like Currys and Morrisons and that are shipping away all their jobs overseas and moving their customer service overseas. We can't do that. Our company is run by people. All of our turnover is brought in by the work people do. And for us to grow, we can only grow the people within our service. So it is really tough. So if you're already on a very small profit margin, whereby within even some tenders, they expect your profit margin, net profit after tax, to be somewhere around the region of 3%, I generally don't see how they can find that sustainable. So as King says, it will just impact, sadly, a lot of the carers. There's not a lot we can do about it this year. Generally, we try to put ourselves on the forefront, whereby we pay more than anyone we see in the local community. When we see the national living wage, we tend to try and put £1 plus on top of the national living wage across all of our branches within England, so that we can always bring in the staff with the highest amount of quality. We always want to be able to be flexible and have a choice in the people that we bring in, and not just, as we know a lot of companies do, just accept anyone to work within care, because it's difficult to find people that will want to work within care. You can't put yourselves in competition with the big warehouses and the factories that now will employ people in the agencies, because care is a difficult industry. It is an industry that doesn't require any specific qualifications. It does require a lot of training. Yes, you can get into care if you haven't worked in it before, if you haven't done a job before, and we will train you up to the position whereby you are a very good carer. However, it is a very difficult job role, and to be able, and for them to basically force us to be paying carers at the very, very minimum wage, it'll be very difficult for people to want to get into the care field. And I think above the overall just financial strain that people are going to feel, there's also going to be a major strain in employment and in procurement of staff and getting in the correct personnel and getting people to stay within care when you can't really build their care into a career financially that is sustainable. It will affect a lot of companies, and we hopefully luckily have put ourselves in a position where we know that we will stem the tide. However, not a lot of companies can do so.
And on another point, I mean, it's clear for everyone now that Labour betrayed us. Labour betrayed the people. This manifesto commitment was to not increase national insurance. And they were oppressed, right? You're not going to increase national insurance, but are you going to increase employers' national insurance? They were very quiet about it. They said they were not going to increase national insurance. But people can see the betrayal because of what they have now done, and I think their time is limited. People aren't happy about this increase because they know it's going to be affecting them. They want to put the onus on the employer having to reduce their bonuses or whatever, or increase costs. Let's say not in care, with other industries increase their costs of products, but it still affects the people. So this is a stealth tax that they've put on. And that's what Labour does. They increase taxes. In their time after Thatcher, all they did was continue to increase tax time and time again. And I think there's going to be a new increase in tax coming in April as well.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Kin, if you had the power to change one thing about the NI system, what would it be?
Oh, good question. The change about the NI system. What I'll do is probably disaggregate the purposes. So the NI system, the national insurance systems that you question, right? The NI tax, right? Okay. So what I'll do is disaggregate the purposes, because at the moment we pay national insurance, don't really know what it's for. Some people think, and it is some of it, part of it is for the NHS, part of it is for pensions, part of it is for other things, right? But it's just one tax. I think our tax system is flawed in this country. People need to know what they're paying the tax for. So there needs to be disaggregation of the big taxes, so people know exactly what they're putting their money toward. So it's more clear and more transparent.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, going back to mega nursing and care, 2024 was a milestone year for us, with the introduction of young persons care, admission avoidance, and supported living services. Can you share some more details about the extra care scheme that mega nursing and care has been awarded in Northamptonshire, Winner?
Yes, so extra care is one of the sectors of care that we have wanted to get into for a while. We are not against care homes or nursing homes per se, but seen as our general ethos is that people will be better off in their own homes. I still prefer those care settings where people can feel as much at home as possible. And that's what extra care does. Extra care puts them within a community and an environment whereby they are at home, they have got their own tenancies, they do either own or rent their own property, and everything there is theirs, and they can dictate their life and are free to come and go as they wish. But then care is always there. We're always on site. We took over Balmoral Place in Northampton, which has about 80 residents, very minimal voids currently, and it's a fantastic place with wonderful people. There we have the communal rooms, and people can come down and socialize with residents there. That are some of them going through similar issues. People are familiar with their ailments and their conditions, and I think that puts a lot of people at ease when they are living with medical conditions and ailments. For us to be able to be there 24/7 overnight, it gives them rest assurance and peace of mind. And we are a nursing service, so we have got highly specialist care staff, and we have got our CEO, who's an advanced nurse practitioner on site, and I feel like they all benefit from the level of care that we can overall provide in the extra care service. So extra care, supported living, home care, 3 very good avenues for people to deliver care. And we'll be moving into extra care a lot more vigorously. We do feel like we have got a lot to add to that style of service. And our model currently works really well. And the staff there are lovely. Balmoral Place, you can go there and visit if you have got some voids. So if you do know someone that would be good in an extra care setting, please call us up.
Excellent. Now, one thing I want to know, before you were awarded this contract, there was another care company, and I understand that the staff remained with you. Was there any challenges that you encountered, and how did you overcome them?
Many, many, many challenges. See, anyone who's within business and has been in business for long enough has most likely gone through a 2P process here and there. If your names were, especially if you're doing contracting. So the 2P process is never easy. What you're doing is you're transferring over staff from one company to another. And to be honest, for the sake of these members of staff, they had been 2P'd over twice in 2 years. And it's a very difficult service. They initially were with me, moved on to the other company now, and then we took them on. So I do understand there was a lot of concern, a lot of worry. They had just molded and accepted the new workings over the 18 months. They had the second company in there. So the thought of a third company in there with different models and different structures and a different operational workings was always going to be an issue there. And we did come with a lot of suggestions, a lot of changes, and a lot of key things that we did think will be all positive. And to be honest, now they're all very quite positive, and the service is running fantastically. I think we did come in there very strong, but that's who we are. We want to make impactful changes. We want to ensure that when we are running a service, from day one, it is running in a way that we think is best. And I do feel like that drastic change was felt by a lot of the carers. So as a learning point, we do understand that we may step some of the positive changes in a little bit more gradually. But now from September, when we took it on to now, it is a very, very successful service. We've filled up all of the voids. Satisfaction is up at a rate of over 98%. So the staff are fantastically happy. We've only lost one and kept the rest of the 30.
Excellent. And final questions for you, King. With regards to the extra care scheme, could this approach help reduce overall cost for the NHS and local authorities?
Yes, is my answer. Yes, I think it can. Because if people are within an extra care, Winner knows this area much more than I, but if people are within an extra care facility, they are more it's extra care. The very purpose of it is to promote independence, right? It's a step up in terms of independence from supported living, and of course, their home, they're the most independent, but they can be in an extra care facility and have that 24/7 care, at least on-site support if needed. So if there is any issues, rather than being at home and get into an issue without anyone around or having to call out, they're within an environment where they can have that oversight of the residents there. So I think my answer is yes, but you're gonna have to ask Winner for more information.
I'll just say, just to add to that, the reason we'll definitely say the council and the NHS the government money is because you're putting them into an environment where care is on site. Some of the residents, about half, have independent care packages, but the other half, 40 or so, just pay for the peace of mind, pay to have someone available on site, which comes at a cost of less than 5% of what they would be paying if they had a specific independent care package of someone coming to their house to see if they're okay. So it being on site in an extra care environment, they are able to call up and get instant care if they do need it at that point of call. And we're able to also oversee and ensure that they are well and they don't require care. And if they are to require care, we can put a care package in there immediately. So with speed of service and with the lack of need to put in a static care package in there, whereby some of the time throughout the lunch and tea, they may not be required, whereby they still have to pay the care provider for that. They don't have to do that within an extra care environment. So I do think they do save a lot of money in that regard.
Excellent. Now, we've just got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to fire away some fire questions. Kay, if you could instantly master one skill, what would it be?
Being a pilot. I've always wanted to, for some reason, to feel the experience of flying a plane. That's one of my other things. Apart from being a basketball star, I've wanted to be a pilot, fly a plane or fight a jet or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, I can definitely see you as a pilot, so.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, so, and Winner, if you could invest something to solve one global problem, what would it be?
Don't say world peace.
No, I would. I would invest in education. I would invest in industry specific education. I would invest in life workings and growth education. I would teach children at the earliest age about investment, property, life advice, fitness, nutrition. I would invest in the education that I feel all parents should be teaching their kids, and they then get that from schools, but then a lot of them don't get that education. That would be my most important thing. Knowledge is the most important thing to me.
And I think that's the right answer. King, Winner, it's been a pleasure to sit with you here. It's always a pleasure to sit around the table with you to have these sort of discussions. So thank you for coming on the second episode of Care Co.
Thank you very much.
Podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you.
If you like this podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe. And watch out for our next episode with a very interesting guest.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.